This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
I was distracted by the bunnies.
Yes.
And here we go.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 156 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
My new hobby is I love rolling down sand dunes.
It's true, and I have all faith in John Williams, of course.
And the Grammy goes to John Williams for Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
And then watch Return of the Jedi under the stars with a whole bunch of Star Wars fans at a Star Wars filming site.
Well, unless that separatist Death Star became Death Star 2, we see in Return of the Jedi.
It'd be some phenomenal retconning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to start your workday with positivity and a hashtag Wookiee hug.
Are you on board with this, Sarah?
I am now. Damn it.
Will you watch the language?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen.
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh, what?
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Hey, Skywalkers! Welcome to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are the fun-filled Star Wars and Disney podcast that bring you entertaining stories from the creators and fans. And big thanks and a giant Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers who listen to the show every week, post on our Facebook group, watch on Facebook, watch on Periscope, the Scope Walkers and the Facebook Walkers. Still haven't gotten a name for you guys, and I'm sorry. And whatever you do, we want to just thank you for helping us share the positivity about our adventure through fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, your tour guide through fandom. But everyone now, please say hello to my sweetie wife, Sarah, who's finally upgrading and getting her own office.
It's going to be exciting, and hopefully next week we'll be able to record from that office studio. It's going to be really, really cool. So I'm excited. We decided to put in flooring yesterday instead of just leaving the crappy carpet. So
instead of being bi-coastal,
yes,
we'll be by-house.
But by room?
Yes, because we'll have two different studio options to record from.
Sounds good.
So right now, as we're recording, Sarah's mom and dad are prepping the new recording studio / Sarah's office / sewing room.
Yes, sewing room too. Very important.
Yes.
All the better to make your monkey's shirts on.
By Rummel, says.
By room-ul. Oh, yes. I get it.
Two rooms.
Okay. Wow.
So,
Russia, cool.
Right now, I've had the chance to go through all my Star Wars memorabilia in my Star Wars room and finding things that I forgot I had.
Yeah, because we're changing out the Star Wars room to my office / sewing room.
We had the Star Wars room for 10 years, but we hardly ever go in there, and we weren't looking at the stuff in there anymore, and just not being a big collector anymore. We thought, hey, let's take the room apart. So now, Sarah, it'll be your office / second recording studio.
And you know what's awesome about it?
Lots of stuff,
but the door is Han Solo. So Han Solo and Carbonite will be my door. It's very fitting.
Yes. So right now, if we were to pan down, there's boxes everywhere.
Yeah.
But
we don't want to pan down.
Not at all. But just being able to see the stuff that I had just boxed up in corners and closets.
Yeah.
Now it can be spread out for all to enjoy. But guess what? It will never be opened.
Did you take some pictures of some of those boxes?
Oh, I took pictures of a lot of boxes.
Okay. Yeah, we have a bunch. You have a bunch of carded figures that are still on their cards.
Yeah, hundreds of original Star Wars action figures all the way up to Rogue One. And guess what? They will never be opened. Darth Taxus, I will not open them.
He says, yes, do not open. All right, you guys, you have to tweet at us at SkywalkingPod. Should we open them? Should we not?
Well, you know what? Me and Darth Taxus are on the same side. We say, do not open. Thank you, Darth Taxus. Thank you very much. Because up until now, we've been collectors without a country over here.
Giveaways for us scope walkers. How about that, Richard? How about
Moving
that?
right along to our show that we are recording from Long Beach, California on the day after Valentine's Day, February the 15th, 2017.
Yes.
I figured since we didn't have a Valentine's Day episode this year, just by mentioning it, we're clear.
It's true.
But you know what we're not clear of? Knowing the time. Sarah, what time is it?
Time for me to remember that we do this every time.
Every single week.
Shh. Okay, ready?
It's 11:44. Good morning.
It's 11:44. Do you know what time that really means? Not to open action figures, says Patrick Izzo and Neil Lowry. Do not open. See, I feel much better about my decision.
Oh.
All right, now let's talk about this episode, which I'm so excited about. Now, last week we got a Facebook invite from our good friend Brian Sims about the Star Wars invasion of Buttercup Valley out at the Imperial Sand Dunes in Buttercup Valley, California. Now, this event also goes by the name Discover the Desert Star Wars event.
Yeah, it seems to be it's going to be an annual thing in January/February because it's better timing for the weather.
And
you don't want to go in the summer.
What this is, it's a gathering of fans to go to Buttercup Valley, California, where they shot the Desert Sarlacc Sail Barge battle in Return of the Jedi. Or, I'm sorry, Blue Harvest. Or Revenge of the Jedi.
Yes.
Or they were just calling it Revenge. I've been waiting 35 years. 35 years to do this.
Well, just in the past year, you've mentioned it a couple times. Since my parents now live in Arizona, it's like on the drive over, we could stop in Buttercup Valley.
There were all these signs saying Yuma, just taunting me. And Yuma is right next to Buttercup Valley. And just seeing that sign, I thought, oh, we got it. Seeing how close it is now, we've got to get there.
Yeah.
So once again, this was the location where they shot the Sarlacc battle in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, so it's near Yuma, Arizona.
Right.
Now, is it technically in Arizona?
No, it's technically in Buttercup Valley, California.
Okay.
But if you were to throw a rock or a pile of sand over your head, you would hit Yuma. That's how close it was.
And also a pile of sand south, you'd hit Mexico, right? It's like right there.
Well, you gotta have a big giant Wookiee arm to throw to Mexico.
Okay.
But now the cast and crew stayed in Yuma. That's where all the hotels were.
Right.
So there's always been a lot of confusion as to where this was actually shot. Do you know how I know it's Buttercup Valley, California, not Yuma? Well, listen to this clip right here.
In March 1982, location shooting began within the vast desert landscape of Buttercup Valley, California, for Revenge of the Jedi.
Now, we didn't make this adventure by ourselves.
No, in fact, we went with Jawa James, who is James Floyd, and Margaret Mays. Unfortunately, Brian Sims couldn't join us. He had to pull out, but we were excited to go to Buttercup Valley with these awesome Skywalkers, and we also talk with the organizers of this event from the 501st, and also the people who work at the Desert and Film Commission. So they tell us about what it takes to put this on and plan it every year, and then give us a sneak peek as to what they have planned for next year. Also up in this episode, Joe Costa Drew is back to tell us how Catalyst enhances and rounds out characters and situations in Rogue One.
Yeah, I was very excited about that conversation. Mm-hmm. Now, we also have shout-outs, a Skywalker of the Week, and things we want to share. But not so fast. We first have to reveal the winner of last week's foreign dub contest.
Yes.
Now, tangential point here. We put it out there that we wanted a new name for this contest. The foreign dub contest was more of a placeholder. We needed a better name, something more in the vein of Star Wars and Disney, since we play clips from
Star Wars
foreign
and
dubs
Disney.
of Star Wars and Disney. Now, we had a lot of contenders.
Okay.
But let's reveal the new name of the foreign dub contest.
But now, we didn't talk about this together because I kind of like this second name down here, this runner-up.
I thought we had agreed on this one. No, we did.
We never talked about this
we
at all.
We did talk about
No.
Are you
What
kidding
are you
me?
talking about?
No, we did, because I said if we go with that, Rob Dellinger's going to write a new jingle, but he can't use the Ewok celebration because it's already been used.
When did you talk to me about this?
Like the day it happened.
Was I like doing something else?
Yes, apparently not listening.
Because, okay, well, here's an option. 6 million forms of communication. I think that was cool.
All right. Scope walkers and Facebookers. We still need a new name for you guys. All right. What do you like? 6 million forms of communication or the Yub Dub Challenge? Come on.
I've never heard of the Yub Dub Challenge.
You did hear the
Who submitted this?
Okay, Dart Taxa says Yub Dub on Periscope, so that tears it. Well, you see, Yub Dub again from Ray Gob. See, 6 million forms of communication just doesn't roll off the tongue.
Christy.
So we're getting a lot of Yub Dubs.
It does roll off the tongue, fine, but I was never consulted about this. I was never consulted. John Liang says Yub
We
Dub.
were talking about. All right. So what do you say? Is it the Yub Dub
Did you
challenge?
already talk to Rob about this?
Not as far as you know.
Yes. Okay, we can do the Yub Dub. Everyone is excited.
No,
Darth Taxis like puns and rhymes.
I was gonna call it the Yub Nub Dub challenge. That's way too many syllables. But you know what? Let's give a huge thanks to Logan Lanou for coming up with that. The Yub Dub challenge. So, are you on board with this, Sarah?
I am now. Damn it.
Will you watch the language?
That is not
Seriously.
bad. People can say that on
There could be
Primetime
kids
TV.
listening. The Hunt family, two of their daughters are under 18, I think.
Okay.
I think, or...
I was not consulted, but now that I have been, consulted a little bit, I can concede
All right.
the Yub Dub.
Can we move on now?
Yes.
Okay, now, here is the clip that we played last week, and we asked for the movie, the scene, and if possible, the language. Here is the clip.
Vad tycker han jag ser ut som? En åsna?
Gör du?
Hörru, du garvar som en åsna. Kom det där från mig?
Well, we can now reveal the winner. And the winner is... West Coast Brian! Congratulations, West Coast Brian. You got the closest. Now, no one actually got the language.
All right, well, tell them what the answer is.
Okay, the answer is the film, Pinocchio. And it's the scene when Pinocchio and Lampwick were turning into donkeys. And many of you got that. I know Teresa Delgado got that. However, West Coast Brian did not get the language, but he was the closest with Dutch. The language was actually Swedish. So, here it is in English. Here's the clip.
What's he think I look like? A jackass?
You sure do.
Hey, you laugh like a donkey. Did that come out of me?
And obviously we picked Pinocchio because of last week's Disney Vault visit for the release of the Walt Disney Signature Collection Pinocchio Blu-ray, which is really fun, and we watched the special features, and yay.
Yeah, so by the next Yub Dub Challenge, Rob Dellinger will have the new jingle ready.
Whoa.
Awesome.
Thank you to Rob.
Thank you very much. And now, here are things we want to share.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
And the Grammy goes to John Williams for Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
John Williams, who just turned 85 years young on February 8th, he got another Grammy.
He did?
I know, for the Star Wars: The Force Awakens Best Score Soundtrack for Visual Media.
This was at the 59th Grammy Awards just last Sunday on February the 12th, and huge congratulations out to John Williams. And this is his 24th Grammy Award.
Wow.
That's not counting Oscars or People's Choice Awards or Cable Awards,
Do you know how
Ace
many
Awards.
times he's been nominated?
I don't, but let's
Okay.
not focus on that. Let's
Okay.
focus on his wins.
Okay, that's really amazing.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I think if they had not nominated or chosen John Williams, that would have been just a travesty.
It's true.
We would have been walking around with picket signs that would have said, "Did you not hear Ray's theme? Come on."
Oh yeah, I'm so excited, and The Force Awakens wins something. It's so exciting, and John Williams, of course, is the best.
Yeah, who needs stupid Oscars? didn't win the Oscars. You know what? Forget you, Oscars.
I know.
Now, Bobby Roberts posted this on the Full of Sith Facebook group, which I found very intriguing. Robert Meyer Burnett, who is the CEO and founder of Ludovico, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, which is it's an entertainment company, but he just tweeted that John Williams is currently conducting the recording of The Last Jedi's score.
Amazing.
So he's actually watching the footage.
Wow.
He's doing it because Rian Johnson wants to edit the film to it.
Whoa.
And that's new.
Yeah, because it's so early on. I mean,
yeah.
Last Jedi isn't due out till December.
Right. Right now, ordinarily they'll cut the film and lock it, which means there's no more changes. Then they score the film. This way it's kind of a risky move where John Williams is going to write the music and then they're going to edit the film around that. But if they're locked into it, which means they're locked now 10 months ahead of time. So I guess you can get a music editor to come in and start chopping away.
So I think either that or he's doing a lot of, you know how John Williams likes to write themes for various characters and things. So he could be writing kind of like the concert suite versions.
According to this tweet, he's writing the score so Rian Johnson can edit the scenes around those particular scores.
Okay, but a tweet is 140 characters, so that might mean that he's taking the music, much like who edits Guardians of the Galaxy? Who's the director?
James Gunn.
James Gunn will listen to the music of the 70s music,
right?
As he's directing and even editing the film, just to kind of get in the mindset of it. So
he may listen to the film to get into that rhythm,
right?
But to edit a film to lock it in 10 months ahead of time, which means once again you can't change nothing. But caveat to that, you can come in there and start editing around the music, but this is risky. So I'm extremely curious as to see how this is going to turn out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think there's more to it than we can see in a tweet.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so, because if they want to do any reshoots, did I say reshoots? Which they're going to, because every film has reshoots.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be really, really difficult.
Okay.
All right, but time will tell.
It's true, and I have all faith in John Williams, of course.
And Rian Johnson and Disney and J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and everyone else.
Yes. All right, I have something I would like to share.
Please.
And that is Margaret Carey, our fairy pod mother, finally is announcing the finished version of her book, Tinkerbell Talks, Tales of a Pixie Dusted Life. So, do you know when this will be releasing? February 19th. It will be available to purchase on her website, tinkerbelltalks.com. And also, she is going to be meeting and greeting and signing the final finished version at Walt's Barn on March 19th. Now, it was going to be this weekend, but apparently it's going to rain, and Walt's Barn isn't open during the rain, so we're very sad. So what Walt's Barn is actually a place in Griffith Park in Los Angeles that has, I believe there's part of the train tracks, at least, that used to be in his backyard, and the barn itself from his backyard is there, so it's very historical, and there's lots of items from Walt's actual home that are there.
And don't forget, this was the stomping grounds for Walt Disney, who got the idea of Disneyland.
Yes.
Because he would watch his little girls on the carousel, the merry-go-round, which is still there today. He used to sit down and watch them go around and around and think, wow, I can think bigger than this.
Yes.
I can think much bigger than this. So it's very appropriate that Walt's Barn is at Griffith Park. And for any of you Monkees fans out there, this is where they shot a lot of the Monkees videos.
Well, I guess the full name is Walt's Carolwood Barn, because he used to live on Carolwood. So, yeah, it's exciting. So hopefully March 19th, we will be there visiting Margaret Carey. It's a weekend, so we never know until the week before, but hopefully we'll be there. So
we were supposed to be there this weekend once again, but it's going to rain in California.
I know.
Come on.
Yeah, and Joey Pittman is asking, they do a monthly Disney event. Yes, every third Sunday of the month, Walt's Barn is open and free for you to check out. So It's amazing.
And Margaret loves going to Walt's Barn, especially when there's an event like this. Oh,
Yeah.
she loves talking to her fans. And
Yeah.
And I'm so glad
she's amazing.
the book is finally coming out because we've been talking to her about this for years. And she's just so beside herself with excitement. So congratulations to our fairy pod mother, Margaret Carey. And that was Things
We Want to Share. Oh, that's cute.
In March 1982, location shooting began within the vast desert landscape of Buttercup Valley, California, for Revenge of the Jedi, the third episode of the Star Wars saga.
Last week, we took a day trip up to beautiful Buttercup Valley, California for the Discover the Desert Star Wars event. On Facebook, the group is called Star Wars Invasion of Buttercup Valley, but the organizers at the actual desert location is Discover the Desert Star Wars event. And we say that because we want everyone to be able to find this next year or look into it now.
Yeah.
Because it's these organizers who are trying to save the desert. There's a lot of expense that goes into saving the desert, a lot of people power.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as you know, the desert's not small, it's very, very big. So it takes a village to keep these up and running. So they figure, hey, let's bring people's awareness by tying it in with Star Wars. And there were, how many people would you say were there?
Oh, goodness. 150 or so?
Oh, no, more than that.
You think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's hard to tell when everyone's so kind of spread out and then people left before the movie or some people stayed. So, 200? I don't know.
I would say hundreds and hundreds.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because there were a lot of cosplayers up in the sand dunes taking pictures.
Okay.
People over at the fan groups getting information. People in line to get onto the trams.
Oh,
Pickup trucks to get
yeah.
over to the actual location.
Yeah.
So it was just immense. And I really want people to find out more about this. And believe me, with this show, we're going to find out a lot about this location.
Yeah. We'll warn you next year. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to the organizers beforehand.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah, we didn't know about this until 48 hours beforehand?
It was the week of, yeah.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, let's do it.
Yeah, so once again, thanks to Brian Sims for making us aware of this and inviting us to the Facebook group.
Yes.
Now, let's travel back in time, okay? Now, in a Revenge of the Jedi...
Timeless?
Like timeless, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll be Wyatt. I'll be Matt Lanter in this.
Okay.
Now, the Yuma Daily Sun had put out a supplement to its issue on May 2nd, 1982 for Revenge of the Jedi.
Okay.
Because they had a deal, Lucasfilm had set up a deal with the Yuma Daily Sun and said, if you don't come poking around and start publishing photos, and getting into our business, we will give you an exclusive. We'll let your reporters come in and we will show you everything. We'll let you interview the stars, tell you behind the scenes stories, but you've got to wait until after we're gone because they didn't want legions of fans coming in and getting in their way. Now, already they already had the dune buggies, which this is the dune buggy capital of the world, the Imperial Dunes.
Right.
So people were already figuring it out, but they didn't want anyone else to figure it out. So Sid Ganis from Lucasfilm told the paper, hey, you come and help us, we'll help you.
Nice.
Now, a reporter who had gotten George Lucas to do an interview because there were some bad weather conditions on a Star Wars film, who would guess? So he talked to George for a little bit, and I wanted to read a couple of passages which I thought were very interesting from this Revenge of the Jedi supplement.
Okay.
Now, George had mentioned that they were going to go to Tunisia, but the sand dunes weren't big enough.
Right.
They were going to go to Morocco, which was another consideration, and even the Colorado deserts.
Whoa.
But there was a mountain range right in the way, so they couldn't shoot there. But then I think that was his first choice to go to Colorado.
Okay.
However, the art department came and saw these awesome sand dunes away from everyone else. You couldn't see civilization. It was like Disneyland. You couldn't see the outer world from where they wanted to shoot. So this was perfect. And plus, being in California is much easier for the actors and for the crew.
Right.
Now, George had said in this article, the only problem is the kids and lots of Star Wars fans. The public gets in the way and tries to find out what's going on. We don't want to attract a lot of crazy people.
Oh my gosh, he just insulted the fans and he didn't even know it.
Well, cut to 2017.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed. Nothing.
Well, but we're crazy nice people.
The crazy people who are going to come all the way out to it and stand in a desert to watch bits and pieces of this film being shot. So I think that's what he's referring to.
Okay.
So then the reporter starts focusing on the prequels.
Ooh.
So he's already moving past Revenge of the Jedi.
Now, this was in 83.
This is in 82.
This is in 82. Okay,
Yes,
and
this
he's
supplement-
asking about the prequels.
Yes, came out May 2nd, 1982, and he's already going on beyond Revenge of the Jedi and asking about the prequels.
So what does he say?
George tells him the prequels take place 20, 30, or 40 years later. I think he meant to say earlier.
Okay.
Time is relative to space. You never really know how old Ben Kenobi and his father and how long people live.
Huh.
Now, it might have been a miscommunication between he and the reporter, or George was just referring to Luke's father.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting that the reporter never followed up with, whoa, Obi-Wan's father?
Yeah.
But I think he did mean to say Luke's father.
Interesting.
Right. So I scoured this supplement, and those were the most interesting facts that I could come up with. But now, speaking of interesting stuff, let's go into a round table that Sarah, you and I did with James Floyd, a.k.a. Jawa James, and Margaret Mays on the way home from Buttercup Valley, and we had just seen Return of the Jedi. We had so many thoughts we wanted to get out there. We thought, hey, we have the recorder with us. There's no squirrels in this car. Let's record our thoughts. We just spent the day rolling around in the sand and in the deserts. So, James, how much fun did you have today?
I had a lot of fun today. Coming out to Buttercup Valley, I've done once before, but this is my first time doing it in like 15 years. And it was fantastic to come out and see the Imperial Sand Dunes in Buttercup Valley, where they filmed the Sarlacc pit scenes and the Jabba's sail barge scenes, and then watch Return of the Jedi under the stars with a whole bunch of Star Wars fans at a Star Wars filming site.
Yeah, it was neat, and we only heard about it a couple days before, and thanks to Brian who had invited us to this event. And the whole thing, this happens to be the second annual invasion of Buttercup Valley, I guess. And so what it all entailed was that you got here to the Imperial Sand Dunes, and then they actually had some rangers taking us driving over the dunes to the actual filming location area so that you could explore, maybe find some Sarlacc remnants, right?
Yeah.
And then like you said, after all that was done, we watched Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but let's go back to the beginning of the day, because we're glossing over a whole bunch of stuff.
Well,
and
I just wanted to give an overview of the event.
All right, that's a very good overview. So, Margaret, tell us about your day today.
I ate it In-N-Out for the very first time.
And how was it?
It was really, really good. It was all that it's cracked up to be.
Oh.
So,
it was not a disappointment.
Was that the highlight of your day, Margaret?
Absolutely not. Although I would like to assure Brian that we are having a terrible time. Despite anything he hears.
All right, so James, what was your favorite part of the day, and what were you expecting when you came out here?
I'm not sure what I was expecting. I knew that the 501st and Mando Mercs and Rebel Legion were going to be doing little booths and having lots of people out in costume to take photos with. I heard that they were going to have shuttles to take us out across the dunes, because it's required to have four-wheel drive to go out to the Buttercup Valley portion. But it turns out that most of them were run by Bureau of Land Management rangers and staff with four-wheel drive vehicles, and then also a few like rented open-air, like giant dune buggy type things. And so that was really cool. The rangers had set up a little station out in the valley where they showed some of the pictures from the filming, talked about some of the other filming that they've done here for other movies. So that was really cool. And then Richard, Sarah, Margaret, and I, we wandered over to where our good friend Carlos told us to go, which was the spot where they had set up Jabba's sail barge. So we wandered over that way, and we were just on our own for quite a while, poking around and enjoying the sand dunes, enjoying walking across the flats, getting away from all the ATV traffic to just enjoy the sand. There's one little hollow that we were in, just kind of goofing off, and realized that when we sit down in this, all we can see is sand and sky and the moon, and that was really cool. Plus, we're in the shade there, so that was also really nice because it was pretty warm out today.
Yeah, shade was good. But when we got here, we rolled up and we saw all these stormtroopers walking around, the Mando Mercs, and a lot of Rays.
Yeah, Rays. Who else? Rays were carrying little BB-8s. Who else did you see, Margaret?
We saw a lot of stormtroopers. They also had that Death Star set up that we had.
Oh, like a little photo op moment.
The photo op,
yeah,
too, right there when we got there. A lot of sand people we saw.
Oh, yeah, tons of...
And with the combs.
What?
Oh, yeah,
the combs to comb the desert.
Spaceballs combs that they had for the photo op that you two could join some stormtroopers in helping comb the desert. That was by the Imperial Sands Garrison of the 501st that extends from San Diego all the way out into Imperial County here.
Now, what part of Spaceballs was that?
Oh, my goodness. So that's when, I believe... Oh, gosh,
you know what?
names.
How about this? We'll just roll in the clip.
Are we being too literal?
No, you fool. We're following orders. We were told to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Found anything yet? We ain't found shit.
And for the younger listeners out there, we did have to bleep that last part of it.
Yes.
So when we rolled up to the location, I thought where they were dumping us off, that was the actual location. But no, you had to wait for a shuttle to take you over the sand dunes to the actual Sarlacc pit battle location.
Right.
And so we got in this pickup truck, and this guy, the driver, what's his name?
Was it AV was our driver out?
Yeah, this guy was a madman. Yeah, he was like doing donuts in the sand. Like, AV, we just want to get to the location safe and sound. What are you doing here? And then he would say, well, Margaret asked me to do this. Margaret, come on, seriously. So we finally did get to...
Deception! Lies! Deception!
We finally did get to the location, and there was a little garrison of the people who work at the desert. Right. I forget their official...
The BLM, the National Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, and they had the behind-the-scenes production photos so we could line up the sand dunes in the desert. But luckily, our good friend Carlos Esteban, he was right there to say, okay, you see that sand dune? Walk right there, and that is where Jabba's sail barge was. It's like, fantastic, this is great. Now we have an exact location, because up until that point, we only had sand to mark locations.
Sand surrounding us on all sides, and dunes, well, dunes don't really keep their shape over 35 years.
No, so it's pretty hard to match what dune went to what. And as a side note, Anakin was right. That sand does get everywhere.
Yes. Sorry, James. Your car.
Yeah, seriously. So we went walking toward that sand dune that the sail barge was parked, and they shot the Sarlacc pit. And that was just so incredible. Got a lot of great pics, some good skywalking through Neverland, flag pics. And then, James, you thought it would be a good idea to do what?
I thought it was a good idea. I had worn my Jedi robes out there to take some very striking poses on the edge of a dune with the sun behind me, and then, of course, leap off of the dune and tumble down in the sand. And then I think Richard decided to up the game a little bit there. What did you do, Richard?
Well, you know what? I don't like being beaten when it comes to rolling down sand dunes. So, okay, James, you jumped and kind of ran down this very, very high slope. I thought, okay, I'm going to do a shoulder roll. And rolled all the way down. And just when I thought I was done rolling, I rolled for another 10 minutes.
And you went...
This was a very high sand dune.
Yeah, this was not Padme falling out of the gunship and rolling a couple times and then getting up. This was more Homer Simpson falling down the stairs.
Yes.
This was Homer Simpson rolling down Springfield Gorge. And you know what? That was it's a very relaxing field rolling down a sand dune because the sand was very, very cool.
Yeah, Richard, you asked if I wanted to join you, and I said no.
Not at all. And
Margaret?
I seconded the no.
We don't want any limbs broken here.
That was not what I signed up for.
But
no limbs were broken. No keys were lost.
No key.
But we enjoyed watching you guys.
yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Even though I knew that we'd be sandy for the rest of the day and sand was getting places sand shouldn't be, I just wanted to watch Return of the Jedi later on and say, hey, I got some of that sand down the back of my pants. And I did. And
Mission
Sarah,
accomplished.
we got some great pictures of you out in the sand dunes.
Yes. Yeah, if you're willing to, walk a little bit, even in that sand, you can get some really great shots. And the sun was, what was it, about 2, 3 p.m.? So the sun was going gradually further down, so you started to get those long shadows. And it was really neat.
Yeah, so later on when we did watch Return of the Jedi, I wanted to be able to say, yeah, those are the sand dunes we were just playing in an hour ago.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. It was so neat. Was there any of your favorite part, Margaret, about visiting the sand dunes?
One of the things I really enjoyed was watching the movie amongst the sand dunes. So when the movie started, it was still a little light outside. So all through Tatooine, all of that was still, you could still see all of the sand dunes. So the movie was sort of extending off the screen and out into reality, which was really fun. That was one of the highlights, I think.
Definitely.
James, what was your highlight of the day?
My highlight of the day was watching Richard fall down a sand dune and keep rolling down.
Yeah, just seriously, when I thought I was done rolling, I looked down and you guys were still like a good 50 yards further.
But I got to say that, going out there and you guys found some stuff, right?
Oh,
Yeah, now let's get to this part.
So
We got some souvenirs.
Yeah, thanks to Carlos, who kind of showed us what to look for, which was old foam that was kind of yellowed, so it was almost blending in with the sand.
Yeah, this was the foam used for the Sarlacc tentacles.
Yeah. Oh, the whole pit?
The whole pit was built out of it and then covered with sand.
Oh.
Yeah, right, the maw of the Sarlacc and
Okay.
the gums that you see. And I've worked with this foam before, and I'm shocked that it lasts this long, but if it's buried in the sand and keeps flowing around, it will keep its life.
Right, and there's no moisture out here either.
And I would say be careful of admitting that you took all of that stuff away, but I think of it as we were just picking up litter.
Yes. We did pick up a lot of litter.
Yeah, speaking
Some
of
Coke
which, now,
cans.
Margaret,
Lots of litter we picked up.
now there wasn't that much litter, but there were some cans that were left there. But you were gracious enough to pick up after these, I don't know, Jawas who had left some stuff around, some
Collecting
cans.
the beer cans that the Jawas left.
Yeah. So that was very nice of you to pick up after them and clean up the desert.
Yeah, well,
Because
we
that's
got to
what-
keep it nice.
Right, that's what this is all about, preserving these natural habitats. And you know what? You get a gold star for the day.
Wow. That might be my second favorite thing that happened today.
Now, Richard, what's your favorite thing that happened today?
Playing in those sand dunes was really fun. And like when we went to go to Death Valley a couple of years ago, there's a certain feeling you get when you're in one of these locations that they were shooting a Star Wars film, and you can feel there's like a certain sense that just goes through your body.
Right.
I would even say it's like a spiritual thing, that this is where something great happened that we've seen over and over again, but now we're standing right in that spot that this actually took place.
It is really neat.
Gonna say that we were in the dune where it happened?
What?
It was a Hamilton reference for all you Hamilton fans out there.
Still haven't seen it yet.
Clearly none of us have seen Hamilton.
Not a clue.
The car was silent.
But just knowing that this is exactly where Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, the droids stood, not just the actors, but the actual characters when they were shooting, then they're their actual characters, and that's where they stood right there.
That's really neat.
Boba Fett fell to his doom.
Yes. And I think my favorite part was actually taking pictures and capturing the location in artsy ways. I love doing that.
Well, I also think it was great to just be out there with so many Star Wars fans. So it's not only experiencing the site, but experience it with a lot of people that are very enthusiastic about it.
Definitely. That's like the best part of any Star Wars thing now, is being able to experience it with a bunch of people. And now we were actually very lucky because normally it costs money to come out and visit the dunes, but today happened to be a free day here, and
they're promoting the
and so we're gonna
Save
learn
the Desert Day. So then we saw Return of the Jedi, and the whole crowd erupted in applause.
Yes.
When they were clapping for sand.
Yeah, that first shot when Jabba's sail barge comes out, you see the banthas in the dunes, and then you see Jabba's sail barge coming out, and then them arriving at the Sarlacc pit, and the audience went nuts for just a very common scene that is not really character driven, but it's the location. We were all there at this location today, and here we are seeing it on the big screen.
Which is that was one of the biggest draws for us, knowing that we could see the movie right in the same filming location.
Mm-hmm.
How often does that happen?
And they had a great setup. Oh my goodness, that sound system. And I think the whole truck kind of came in with a big generator and the big screen.
Yeah, this is no rinky-dink screen. This is legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was the second annual get-together for this. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to hear from the organizers and a preview for next year's event. So before we cut into that, James, if people want to get a hold of you on social media or find you, where do they go? What do they do?
On Twitter, I am known as @JamesJawa, and I write for StarWars.com. I cover mostly books and authors for them, and come check it out.
And Margaret.
Margaret, when you're not overbidding for items at Rancho Obi-Wan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm @Mag Mays.
All right.
All right. Any last parting thoughts for today?
May the Force be with you.
I am one with the Force. The Force is with me. I'm dressed up in my Baze Malbus costume because that keeps me warm when I'm watching a movie out in the sand at night.
Definitely put this on your bucket list.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, before Jawa James rear ends this guy in front of us, we're going to cut out.
I think my eyes are getting better. Instead of a big dark blur, I see a big light blur.
There's nothing to see. I used to live here,
You're gonna die here. Convenient.
Just stick close to Chewie and Lando. I'm taking care of everything.
Oh, great.
So I'm glad that Margaret and James were up to talking about this, because at this point we had been rolling down sand dunes all day, and we just watched Return of the Jedi. We were hungry, we were tired, we were sunburned, but I'm so glad everyone was still in good spirits.
Oh, yeah, of course. We had just been to the sand dunes of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So
and I'm not going to even mention the fact that James almost rear-ended 3 or 4 people while recording that. I'm not going to mention that. So don't think I'm going to.
Okay, don't mention that. I don't think so.
No. Many Bothans almost died for that recording.
Yeah, that's right.
There could have been Bothans in the other cars. I don't know.
Well, we had a chance to sit down with the organizers of this event who helped make it a reality.
We are now here with some of the organizers of the Discover the Desert Star Wars event. Now, let's go around and say who you are and what exactly your job title is with this event.
My name is Kris Haugh, and I help organize some of the Star Wars clubs, the 501st Legion, Rebel Legion, and Mandalorian Mercs.
All right, How about over here?
Hi, Carla Teeters with the Imperial County Film Commission and the UDG, which is the United Desert Gateway.
Nice. And you?
I'm Michelle Puckett, and I am an outdoor recreation planner with the Bureau of Land Management.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, now we've had the time of our lives today. This is something we've always wanted to do, but what did it take to get this organization, this event underway?
Well, it actually took a lot of planning in the beginning. We've been working on this since December, and that's only because we had such a successful year last year. We were able to condense our planning. Last year, we were planning for about 6 months before everything happened. This year, we were able to take all the lessons learned, but we've been planning since December to make this event a reality.
Now, I know when I got here today, I noticed that there should have been like a fee to get in, to go to the dunes. So why is it free for today?
Well, we really wanted to highlight the desert, and a lot of the local community and Star Wars fans have never been to the Imperial Sand Dunes. So with the partnership of the 501st Rebel Legion and the Imperial Valley Film Commission and United Desert Gateway, the Bureau of Land Management wanted folks to come out and explore the desert and not be burdened with a fee.
So this started last year, is that correct?
That is correct. Last year was our first year, so we're in our second annual. Looking forward to planning next year's event as well.
So last year, was it an official event, or did it just happen, and then this year was the official kickoff event?
No, last year was our official kickoff. So in years previous, there had been gatherings of people out here, but like Michelle said, because of the fee, some people didn't know that they could come out and see. They didn't want to take the time to stop. And once we got together, put our heads together, put a great event together, we've had at least 1,000 people come out today that might not have ever seen the desert before.
Wow, 1,000 people. I know this is my very first time here in the Imperial Sand Dunes. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's correct. It's the Imperial Sand Dunes recreation area, and a lot of people come out here to enjoy the desert in off-highway vehicles, OHVs, but we really wanted to focus on the desert and how the desert inspires. We work with filming, and that's why we have Carla Teeters here. We really want to highlight the desert's alive, the arts in the desert, and how the desert shaped America.
Now, you're way too young to have been here back in 1982.
Charlotte.
When Return of the Jedi was being shot, or Blue Harvest.
Right. That's exactly what they called it, Blue Harvest. That was the code name for it, so people wouldn't know what they were doing. And, of course, people were out here constructing, taking pictures, and driving up it on ATVs and three-wheelers. But, yeah, it's a good time down here.
And what films were shot here since Return of the Jedi?
Well, Imperial County has a long history of filming with Hollywood and stuff like that. But here in the desert, we have a lot of films like The Scorpion King, Act of Valor. We've had American Sniper. We've had...
The Mummy, right?
The Mummy wasn't here. It was actually in Africa, just through The Scorpion King. Border Loss and, different things like that. War Dogs was the most recent one that was filmed out here.
And so it's your job to work to bring films here. Is that correct?
Right. My job is to market Imperial County, as well as when people come down here to film, I help them find the resources they need, make sure everybody's permitted properly, has the proper insurance, and finds the rentals and the extras and those kind of things.
Now, we're saying Imperial Dunes. Is that just the code name for these dunes? What came first, Star Wars or the name?
Yeah.
Who's got an answer for this?
It's Imperial Sand Dunes Recreation Area. It's been that.
It has been the Imperial Sand Dunes, recreation area.
1982.
Right.
Imperial County.
Yes.
So this is Imperial County.
So what came first, Star Wars or Imperial County?
Imperial County.
It was really called Imperial County.
Yeah.
Wow. I know, because we were driving.
Coincidence.
Yeah, we were driving here, and they had the Imperial County sign, and we had to stop. We took a picture at the sign.
Come on. Is this here just for today?
It's perfect. What a great location to have, the Return of the Jedi, some scenes filmed here, and then Imperial Sand Dunes. We like to say Imperial Sand Dunes a lot. A lot of people are like, we're in the Buttercup Dunes, or we're in Glamis, but
oh no,
this is the Imperial Sand Dunes.
Okay, at what point can we call it the Jabba Dunes? No,
well,
I'm serious.
Starting right now. We need to designate it next year to have that day. Today, this forward on February, whatever.
Exclusive.
We're going to be exclusive.
Exclusive. Yeah. You heard it here first.
The Sarlacc pit is just across the way.
Speaking of the Sarlacc pit, did any of you, or have any of you, found pieces of the Sarlacc?
I actually found a nice chunk earlier today. Some friends and I were out there, once again, discovering the desert, knowing that it was filmed here, and saw an orange piece on the floor, on the dirt. And I said, hey, I wonder what this is. Tried to pick it up. It was a little bit larger than what I thought, and I got about a half-pound piece of the Sarlacc.
Wow.
So how much was found last year as opposed to this year? At some point, it's got to be pretty much all wiped out. I found all the parts of the Sarlacc. How much do we think is still out there?
What they did is, and I think Charlotte can confirm this, is once the set was finished, I think they demolished it. So there's no telling how much is still out there. We're still picking pieces of it up, and it was filmed in 1982. So that must have been a really big Sarlacc.
It was. At that time, it was the largest outdoor set ever constructed. I don't know if you got a chance to see any of the behind-the-scene pictures that we have up there, but it was a huge construction site.
Right.
Nice.
So last year was the intent to do it annually, this event?
Last year was kind of a dry run. We weren't exactly sure how it would be received and everything, so we did it. And after all the positive feedback that we received from the public, Charla and Michelle got together and they gave me a call and said, hey, let's do it again. And I was like, costuming clubs would love to support this.
So what did you learn last year that made this event so popular?
Well, last year, we didn't know what to expect being the first annual, and we were blown away by the fans. And so we knew that we needed to have more people and more people to take the tour to get people out to the site who have never been into the sand. So we needed to plan and go bigger and better.
Yeah, speaking of, so this year now, this event has been really fun for us, and now as we speak, Return of the Jedi is playing as you look at the backdrop of the Imperial Sand Dunes, which is amazing.
Isn't that a beautiful
yes.
image? Yeah, I agree. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, it works great for social media. I mean, it's awesome. Definitely. So what I'm thinking, what have you guys learned this year that maybe you'll take next year? Do you know yet?
Well, I think one of the things we want to do is definitely get out there a little bit earlier on social media. Now that we know what we're doing, we have the logistics of putting the show together, putting the event together. We've got that pretty well down. One of the things we want to look at now is reaching out to more people. If we can put on a good event, let's put it on for more people. So next year, I think we're definitely going to try and reach out more. And you all helping us spread the message will get more people out there next year.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys are planning next year in the lead up, let us know and we can get the word out.
Because we love location scouting and finding where exactly they shot our favorite movies. And I've been wanting to do this since I was 13 years old in 1982. I thought, I'll never get out there.
Dreams come true.
And we just knew about this 48 hours ago, so we dropped everything just to be here. And I know we were just talking about some of the hurdles you had to go through to make this happen. So can you tell us a little bit about those again?
Some of the hurdles are the fact that we don't have enough people to pull it all off sometimes.
Yeah.
And we're working, let's face it, government doesn't always work as fast as we'd like it to, but that's why we have partners. So getting together, we all have day jobs, and this is just kind of a peripheral passion.
Wow.
So, we're working together. We're working together on the edges, trying to pull it together. So those are definitely some hurdles. And also, as we're doing this, as an aside, we're trying to reach out to people and trying to get the word out. So it's just, we just need maybe some more help and promoting it. But I think so far we're doing a good job.
A lot of moving pieces. A lot of moving pieces.
So if someone wants to come on a day that's not like set up like what we're doing today, can they just come on in and walk the desert?
Yeah, so the Imperial Sand Dunes are open 365 days a year. Our location is in the desert. We're Southern California. When it starts getting to the summer temperatures, we can see very high temperatures, 120 degrees in the summer in July, Fahrenheit. So we have a lot of visitation between October and mid-April. You can come out. We sell weekly passes that are $35 if you buy it before you come, and that includes your camping. So if you'd like to camp.
Oh, wow.
That's nice.
And so, sorry, Joe. If you'd like to come out for a year, you can buy a season pass for $150. We also have day use areas. If you're just coming to take a picture of the sand, actually stand in the place, stand in the Imperial Sand Dunes, we have a day use area for about 2 hours. You can just come and walk up the sand, roll down the hill, and enjoy.
Which was a lot of fun. I did that a couple of times.
So, Michelle, are there price breaks for veterans like myself?
Unfortunately, no. But I can talk to you more about. We have interagency and annual passes for national parks, and other Bureau of Land Management and federal lands that many veterans can receive for free.
Oh. Are there price breaks for your favorite Star Wars Disney podcast?
Just on Discover the Desert Star Wars Day.
Now, we have a lot of listeners who are fan filmmakers. If they want to come out here and shoot in the same area that they shot Return of the Jedi, is there a fee to do that? Do they have to get permits, or is it just they just roll up and do it?
Well, the truthful answer is yes, they need a permit. They have to, if they're just a student or somebody coming out here that isn't doing it for any kind of commerce, they still have to get a weekly pass to be here, and they can go out and walk the dunes and make their film. If they're doing it for anything where they're going to make profit or something like that, or if they're a student film, it's their thesis, then they have to go through the permitting process.
Okay.
And now, if someone wants to come and find out where they shot Return of the Jedi, where would they go to ask, hey, what dune do I cross to find the Sarlacc pit?
Yeah, well, they can come to the Imperial Sand Dunes recreation area here at the Buttercup Ranger Station, and we can give you directions on where to go, general area, and, you might just get lucky and a park ranger could take you back there, lead you back.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Now, to wrap this up, what else do we need to know for the listeners, the Skywalkers out there who really want to come down? A website, someone to contact, social media?
Well, we have quite a bit. So we're trying to promote it on the Bureau of Land Management Imperial Sand Dunes Recreation Area page. But we work with our partners on Facebook. Yes. So follow us on Facebook. We'll also be posting some information on our website, www.blm.gov.
All right. Anything else? Great.
As for the Film Commission, of course, the filmimperialcounty.com. We also have a Facebook page, and I'm sure Garrison has a Facebook page too. But also they can stop in at the local BLM office on 4th Street in El Centro, and they have all kinds of information there. I just wanted to say one of the best things that I found out today, it was really, my husband and I ferried people back and forth to the film site. Got a chance to really meet some people that had never been to the dunes and had never taken a ride out in the dunes, and had some great experiences getting to meet people, and they just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I got a chance to take a kid with special needs out, and he just loved it. So that was really a joy to get people out so they could actually see the resource that their public lands are, and to give them that experience. So I enjoyed that.
Nice.
That's incredible. And you were saying that you were already working on next year. Can you give us a preview of things to come?
Well, yeah, we definitely want to bring more costumers out here to support the event. And like Charlotte was saying, too many people just drive through the dunes as they're going from Yuma to El Centro or San Diego or vice versa. And these kind of events are designed to make you slow down, take a look at what was out here. Today, we've met so many incredible people that would not normally have come out to the desert. And as the charity groups, the 501st and the Rebel Legion, our goal is to raise awareness for different causes. And we're just so happy to be able to partner with these agencies in order to bring awareness to the desert, bring awareness to the filming, to the arts and everything that was done out here last year and this year. So next year, we're going to try and bring even more troopers out here, bring the awareness more and promote it as well. So not only do you come out and discover the desert, but maybe you'll discover something about yourself, and maybe even a new hobby.
I found out my new hobby is I love rolling down sand dunes. All right, so Return of the Jedi is playing out there. We're almost to the Jabba the Hutt, Sail Barge, Sarlacc battle scene. So thank you very, very much.
Yes.
That was very informative, and we can't wait to come back next year because this was so much fun.
Victims of the almighty Sarlacc, His Excellency hopes that you will die honorably. But should any of you wish to beg for mercy, the great Jabba the Hutt will now listen to your pleas.
So next year, Sarah, Buttercup Valley meetup.
Absolutely.
More details to follow next year.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout-out. Who was photoballed? Shout-out. Who was shared a post? Shout-out.
We were guests on our good friend Adam O'Brien's show, Oust Fans Radio Weekly, episode 71. So we talked Rogue One and fandom, some of our favorite things.
Yeah, I wish Adam were going to Celebration, but I was not able to make it. So, Adam, we will be thinking about you as we're having a great time. But I'm so glad that he's going to be able to make it to Rancho Obi-Wan, the gala, in November. Because he's like one of those guys you just want to hang around with. He's like everyone's best friend. So, Adam, thank you for having us on your show so many times, and we look forward to meeting you.
And once again, that's episode 71 of Oust Fans Radio Weekly. All right, for Twitter this week, this just came in this morning, this tweet. You ready?
I'm ready.
Jeffrey Fishbach, he sent a tweet that warmed my heart, and he tweeted, "Starting my day off with Skywalking Pod with Sith Rich and Jedi Tink. It's good to start your workday with positivity and a hashtag Wookiee hug." Aww. We're totally using that quote. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, also on Twitter, 12 Parsecs Podcast, they tweeted about the show 155 with Jennifer Landa and Mark Newbold. And they said, "Can't wait to listen to this. Want to find out how to hang with the cool Star Wars kids."
This was the episode titled How to Get Involved in the Fan Community.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, you're already involved. You have a podcast, 12 Parsecs Podcast. So we thought he was a cool kid, or they were a cool kid.
And they're listening to Skywalking Through Neverland, so that automatically makes you cool.
That's right.
You consider the cool kids table.
Uh-huh. So thank you so much, 12 Parsecs Podcast. And now it's time to hear who is the Skywalker of the Week.
Logan Lanu, Logan Lanu, Logan Lanu, Logan Lanu, Logan Lanu.
Congratulations, Logan Lanu, who is at Lanu on Twitter, and I know him through Disney Infinity. R.I.P. Disney Infinity. I know.
But how did Logan become the Skywalker of the Week? Because he came up with a Yub Dub challenge name.
Ah!
That is how.
That's how. Aw.
So now, if anyone else wants to become a Skywalker of the Week, do they throw out segment names? What do they do, Sarah?
Oh, well, all they have to do is somewhere on social media, they tag us, usually we're at Skywalking Pod, and just say something nice about the show or the episode, share our show with your own thoughts, anything like that. And any way you can help us get the word out about Skywalking Through Neverland, we notice, and we will make you Skywalker of the Week. And that is always composed by Rob Dellinger, who is
the John Williams of podcasting.
That's right.
Which means someday Rob Dellinger will be winning a Grammy.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see that connection there?
I do.
I sense foreshadowing. And now let's hear a Skywalker moment from our good friend Kevin Raider Nerd Reitzel.
Hello, everyone. This is Kevin Raider Nerd Reitzel, and I'd like to share one of my favorite Skywalker moments. 2015, the Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, I was doing my first official run with the Wilro Hoods. And we had Wilro Hoods in costume from all around the world. And this was my first official one. I remember seeing these guys run in other Star Wars celebrations, and I wanted to finally do it, and I got my chance. Along with fellow Skywalker Donald Wicks, we had an enormously amount of fun time doing this run, and we had the most amount of Wilro Hoods that was ever doing this before. We had, I think, close to 30. And we were near one of the top levels of the convention center, and we ran into Mary Franklin, who at the time was the events lead for Lucasfilm. She helped organize a lot of the convention, and she was a very sweet lady. She's, I remember meeting her years ago at some other events, and she stopped us and said, "I wanted to thank you guys, the Wilro Hoods, for doing this every year. It's one of the things that I look forward to most. It is a great thing for fans to see and take part in." And we were all so overcome with that. We actually had an extra mustache that we gave her for the Wilro Hood mustache, and we gave one of us Wilro Hoods lended her an ice cream maker, and she ran with us for a good 10 minutes. And we took some great pictures. We took a photo opportunity with her, and one of the Wilro Hood leads, his name's Florian, he gave her a little Wilro Hood gift, a little figure, I think it was. And it's just one of those things that I remember the most from that event, and it was my favorite part of the event, and I will never forget it. And that is my Skywalker moment.
Now, if you want to share your Skywalker moment or have a longer story of about 5 minutes or so to share in a Skywalker story, email us and give us a synopsis of what you want to share at skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And we can't wait to hear from you. And now, as Rogue One begins to wind down its theatrical release and gear up for its home entertainment release, rumored to be around March 28th, let's talk with Jocasta Drew about how Catalyst, the book, can enhance your next viewing of Rogue One, whether it's one of the last times at the theater or when you bring it home.
One of the biggest mysteries surrounding Rogue One is still, do I have to read Catalyst to understand the movie? Simple answer, not at all. Or someone at Disney would be losing their job. The film certainly does stand on its own. However, the book will help understand the past relationships with characters and know a bit more about the situations.
So here now to discuss how to get more out of your next viewing of Rogue One is Drew Kaplan, or as he's called here, Jocasta Drew.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Richard and Sarah.
Hey, where's Eli?
He is sleeping in his crib.
He made his first podcast cameo last time when we were talking with you about the Darksabers.
Yes, he voiced his opinion a few times.
But now we're going to talk about Rogue One Catalyst.
Yes.
Now, where does this book take place in the timeline?
Thank you. So from the book itself, I have to point out, it's kind of unclear. The first half of the book takes place amidst the Clone Wars, and the second half of the book takes place early on in the Imperial era. However, from the Rogue One visual guide, we learned that it takes place between 22 years and 17 years before Rogue One. So it's a basically 5-year time span.
Okay.
So it's like right at the tail end of the Clone Wars.
Sort of. And as I mentioned, it's kind of fuzzy in the chronology exactly how time transpires in the book. So we're not sure when exactly, things start and how they go on in the book. We don't even know, when Galen's doing X, Y, or Z or anybody else, but it's basically a 5-year time span.
Yeah, basically you can only tell really at how old Jin is, like by using that as kind of a measuring stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of the 50 pages that I had read, which is why we're doing this, because I really want to understand this book and how it relates to the movie. They mention separatists and Republic in the first couple of pages, so I thought, for me, that sets it in the time frame of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and as someone who is a Clone Wars fan, I really appreciated that setting of the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah,
and it really was interesting because it wasn't in the battles, or the Jedi are not part of the story at all, but you see in a very different corner of the Clone Wars. I mean, it's a massive universe, so we get to see some of the stories taking place amongst some of the more peripheral characters. I mean, we see Masameda in it, which is interesting, and then of course we get some Tarkin later on.
And then Masameda is the Emperor's lackey.
Yeah, he's his right-hand man.
The right-hand man, the guy who's
with the horns.
The guy who stands by him.
This is a crisis. The Senate must vote the Chancellor emergency powers. He can then approve the creation of an army.
But what senator would have the courage to propose such a radical amendment?
If only Senator Amidala were here.
Right, right.
Who also, by the way, appears in Aftermath Life Debt.
Right, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. Wow. That guy's...
He has a huge time span in
canon.
Must
be like a Wookiee, 200 years or something.
Which is odd because I knew that Palpatine wasn't crazy. He was racist against aliens.
Oh.
Which is why we don't see a lot of... they're retconning why we don't see aliens amidst the
crew.
The crew, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Republic, there were aliens everywhere. But he still keeps Mos Amida around.
Yeah. He's in the original trilogy, so they have to work him in.
Right.
He's a good right-hand man.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're speaking of this is one little corner of the galaxy. So what point of view is the story based?
So the first part of the book that takes place amidst the Clone Wars, a lot of it's focused on Galen Erso. All of it's written in third person, which, by the way, is different than Heir to the Jedi, which is about Luke Skywalker, all from his first person point of view. which is canon. And then, so it's all third person, but there's a heavy focus on Galen Erso and a fair amount on Orson Krennic. And it's interesting to see him, which he's not totally a bad guy, by the way. Certainly not in the first half of the book. I mean, he has his ambitions. Obviously, he is ambitious, as we see from Darth Vader's famous line in Rogue One. So he's ambitious, but he's a little bit, he wants to bring order to the galaxy. He has a lot of designs going on, and he kind of wants to help out his old buddy Galen, who he knew they were in a school program together back in the day.
And then also there's some moments where Lyra gets a little bit of a first billing as we follow her to
right. So
world.
Earlier on, Galen is more of a focus, as well as Orson Krennic. In the second half of the book, it's a little bit more of a turn to Orson, but Lyra also, I think eventually, certainly towards the end of the book, we have a more of an orientation towards Lyra, and Galen becomes sort of unidimensional because he seems to become really engrossed in his studies, in his research, and that seems to really be it. Whereas she's a mother, she's taking care of Jyn, little young Jyn, as well as at some point Orson Krennic has her on a mission, and she's doing stuff, she's searching for things, but she becomes eventually, in the end, I think she's really this phenomenal character. We don't see much of her in Rogue One, right? She's killed off before the title, right?
Yeah.
But she is, in this book, she's actually a really pivotal, and she's a savvy character.
Yeah.
I mean, we see her described earlier on as she keeps physically fit, she's active, and even later on we see her transcribing Galen's notes. So she has a certain mind for these things, even if there's not much of attention paid to her. But she, I think, ultimately she's more interesting than Galen is towards the end of the book.
Now, does she see beyond what Galen is seeing and says to him later on in the book, hey, I know you're really too close to this, but what is this being used for? What all this research that you're doing, nothing's adding up.
Yeah, so he's really two things about Galen. One is he's very focused and engrossed in his research.
Right.
But he also later on in the book, he's really taking what Orson Krennic's feeding him about what happens to these research facilities and the energy. Right. And they go back to their, I think it was called the Futures program. And they go back. So he's willing to take what he's telling him about what's happening. Like this was an anarchist attack or whatever it was.
Right.
Whereas Lyra has her misgivings. What's going on?
Yeah,
some of the things are not adding up.
Intuition, really. I mean, she has a feeling about Krennic himself, and there's a scene which, really, if you read anything in this book, you should read this scene between Lyra and Krennic on the playground.
Ooh,
on
that's
the playground?
Yeah, that's an eerie scene.
You need to read that.
It's a pivotal. That is definitely a pivotal point.
Yeah.
Even as a reader, you start to get these alarms going off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really makes the line of Krennic in Rogue One where he says, Lyra, troublesome as ever, really makes a lot of sense after you read that scene.
Oh, yeah. Did Lyra push him down after he pulled her ponytail?
No, but
Well, Lyra's older. She was at the playground with Jyn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he said, I was just walking by. I happened to notice you from my 91st floor office, and I just saw you down there. I thought I'd stop by.
Yeah.
But he's really trying to warn her and threaten her, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's eerie. It's an awkward scene.
It's good, but I would recommend reading that. Picking that up.
So, at what point does Orson start to turn? I don't want to say evil, but because I know what he thinks in his mind, like every bad guy becomes a very well sculpted character when they have the motivations that make sense to them. So at what point does his ambition start to become really bigger than he is?
It's kind of gradual. I mean, we see it with his character throughout. The loss of he handles the loss of life kind of in a profligate manner. He's willing to, he has an end in mind. And sometimes, the means just serve that end. And whatever means it takes and however many lives are lost, he's willing to deal with. And we see that early on in the book in trying to, even just in the exchange to free the Ursos off the planet of Vault where Jyn is born. And then it's definitely seen later on with the lives of the scientists and researchers.
Yeah, one of the things you get from the book itself is that Krennic is not only masterminding Galen, all these names that get in my head, is not only masterminding Galen, but he's masterminding a bunch of other scientists as well to do different things involved with the Death Star. So when he gets really mad in Rogue One that Tarkin is taking over, makes a lot of sense because he's invested all these years and all these manipulations and all these hours.
Right. I mean, what Sarah brought up brings up a lot of different things. I mean, we see the rivalry between Tarkin and Krennic. We see how that starts to blossom really in this book, which is fascinating unto its own. And when we see in Rogue One, I think it really gives a good background to that scene when Tarkin takes over the control of the Death Star and Krennic is furious.
Oh, yeah.
But we see the origins of how that, I'm going to use the word blossoms, but how it really grows in Catalyst and how that appears on screen and understanding why that happens. But we also see with the, Krennic really has these things already from the Clone Wars. I mean, these ambitions of designing the Death Star and getting these things going. And he knows Galen back from the day. And he's like, Galen has this special brilliance and ability. He is the man. He is the one to design this, at least for the energy harnessing aspects.
Now, doing the math here, is he old enough to be a part of the Clone Wars as a soldier or as a officer?
Yeah, Krennic. Yeah, he's involved, but he's not.
I guess he would be.
He's not militarily involved.
Right.
He's an engineer. He's part of the engineer, and whenever he meets with Galen, which is kind of funny, he sets up these like puppet offices. They're really just fronts. So Galen thinks that Krennic's just involved in an entirely non-military function when he also really has other things going on. So Krennic's involved in deception towards Galen. Because he always has this in mind. I mean, he's really that's really the incredible thing about Krennic. He's playing the long game with Galen.
Yes.
And he sets up all these different things. He's not immediately trying to get him into developing the super weapon. He wants to do this energy stuff, but before even all that, he sets him up with a job. Right? With a dead-end job that he knows he'll get frustrated with. So he'll just come back to him.
Yeah.
Right. So now, at what point did Krennic get involved in the Death Star in terms of what his job was? So we see it in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But then didn't the Republic want to build a similar weapon when they knew the Separatists were building something like this?
So we do see in this book where somehow, and unbeknownst to Krennic, and he also is curious, how these plans have somehow gone from, Pago the Lesser then to Dooku, and then somehow they're in Republic hands.
Right.
He's curious. I mean, it's presented at a I guess I want to say a conference or something, and he's curious how that happens, but it's in their hands. So, and he wants to run with it.
Right? Aren't they trying to beat the Separatists from creating it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so then Krennic, is he involved in the Republic at all?
Yeah, he's very much involved, and he wants to get Galen into the war efforts. But Galen is incredibly opposed. I mean, he's ironically, violently pacifist. He doesn't want to take any part in any side, and he doesn't even want to aid the military, which is why at the beginning of the book, he's involved in Zerpan Industries, and they're totally on neither side, and they're just developing energy stuff, and he's happy. And then there's this uncomfortable scene, this like party going on. He meets a bunch of his colleagues, and it's still amidst the Clone Wars. And they accuse him of being a traitor because he's unwilling to aid in the war efforts.
Galen, right.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, so that answers the question then. How did Krennic get pulled into the service of the Empire? Because he was once part of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Pretty much meant you're now part of the
part
Empire.
of the Empire.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And he certainly has no moral issues with that. He's happy to do that.
Yeah.
He wants to just keep climbing up that ladder.
Well, he sees where the power is, and that's the side he's going to go with.
Yep.
Now, what would you say? This is a question for both of you. Yeah. How does the book really enhance the film? So in seeing the film, you go, okay, hold on here, this is interesting now. Whereas it's a great scene, but now it's even greater because I know the backstory. So what scene or scenes does that apply to?
Well, I feel like, and I can't quite remember, but when Jyn in Rogue One is dreaming, and she dreams about a scene when she's a young girl, and there's like a party on, Coruscant. Krennic and Galen are hanging out, and she's being put to bed by her father. I have a feeling like that was in, or at least scenes like that were in the novel.
Yeah, there's an earlier there's a couple of scenes. I'll tell you the later scene, which is towards the end of the book, where Krennic comes over with a couple of stormtroopers and he's talking with them, and there's this like really terse trialogue between the three of them. But earlier in the book, there also is a scene where he comes unescorted, no stormtroopers, but he's bearing bottles of wine.
Yeah, they're like hanging out.
Yeah, they're hanging out. It's a totally calm, they're just casually chatting. It's a nice social evening. And then, wine, no stormtroopers.
Yeah, and then
doesn't
doesn't Galen put her to bed at that point too, I think?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure we see that scene in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like they're celebrating Krennic, Galen, and Lyra in the other room.
Yeah.
When Galen comes to put Jyn to bed. Yeah. It looks like they're celebrating something. Do we know what they're celebrating?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, it wasn't apparently very important in the novel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of giving you.
All right, then how about this? Lyra, at the beginning of Rogue One, gives Jyn a kyber crystal and says to trust in the Force.
Yeah.
So what connection does she have to the Jedi or the Force?
So she has an abiding trust in both the Jedi and sort of their faith and sort of relationship with kyber crystals. She knows there's a danger. So we see in the midway point of the book when the Clone Wars have come to an end and Krennic comes forth to the Ursos with an array of some kyber crystals. So Galen looks at it and he's like, oh, this is really interesting and how we can harness the energy with all these kyber crystals. Whereas Lyra is more cautious. She realizes that due to the size of the crystals, they only could have come from lightsabers, from specifically Jedi lightsabers. So she's already, her alarms are going off. She's concerned. And she always trusted in the Jedi. And it's not as far as we know, she's not Force sensitive, but she trusted. She trusted them. Whereas Galen was like, oh, you didn't fully harness the power. The Jedi limited themselves. They could have done so much more with the power of the kyber crystals.
Yeah.
So he's thinking about it from a scientific point of view, whereas she has more of a trust.
And then one thing you can get from the novel versus Rogue One is a little bit more insight into kyber crystals in general, because there is some scenes where we go into the lab with Galen and he's working on this giant kyber crystal that's as big as a car or something. And there's some interesting experiments he does, and you get to it's kind of like midichlorians in that you see kind of the inner workings of how kyber crystals respond to people trying to mess with them.
So how does Lyra know that those kyber crystals, those specific ones, were the ones that could fit inside of a lightsaber? It seems like she's got more of a connection with the Jedi.
That's unexplored. Maybe she just has some people have taught her. She knows. It's not clear.
You would think that she would want nothing to do with kyber crystals, seeing how much trouble they've caused her at this point. But yet she gives her daughter one on a necklace.
Yeah, I think that shows that she has a trust in the Jedi and their relationship with kyber crystals. She knows they're special, and she wants to pass it along to Jyn. I mean, she's very favorable, and even at some point in the book, it mentions the treachery of the Jedi against the Empire. And I think, she expresses some concern about the the alternative facts or the narrative about that.
Which is why I would think she'd be more apprehensive to give her daughter something that's so connected to the Jedi, that the power of these crystals are powering this big super weapon. But yet she's got so much faith in this kyber crystal she gives to Jyn.
Yeah, maybe it's a symbol.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's like a symbol, like a diamond ring.
Yeah.
It says, look, I belong to you. Or, a kyber crystal says, I belong to the Force.
Right, but that diamond wasn't the source of a lot of problems.
Powered a certain way.
Yeah, it was those who wielded it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now let's talk about Jyn.
Yeah.
In Rogue One, the first time we see her as an adult, she's in prison, and I know we kind of allude to the fact that she's been helping Saw, and you just know by the trailer that she's not been the most
law-abiding citizen.
So, do we know what happened that she ended up in that Imperial prison?
No, and not even in the novelization for Rogue One do we know. I mean, in the novelization for Rogue One, we see that she is used to getting out of jails, right? So this is a common thing. And actually, when she's introduced in the novelization for Rogue One, she's in a cell and she has no weapons or abilities to easily escape, right? So she's been in that situation before and has had the wherewithal to escape. In the book itself, I mean, the family departs Coruscant at 4. She's 4 years old when they leave. And then she's 8 years old at that pre-title sequence in Rogue One. So she's still fairly young, and we don't really have a good sense. I mean, the best we know is in Rogue One when she has that dialogue with Saw Gerrera, and she's sort of frustrated. You left me with whatever, just a knife and something else, and
yeah.
In the big picture, I don't think it's that important to know why she ended up in that prison, but just as the fan who wants to know everything, I just want to know. I want to know that.
Well, there are a couple more books coming out. The Rebel, yeah. So we get to find out a bit more about her, and then also Baze Malbus and Chirrut Îmwe. So we're going to have some backstories coming up very soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does the book say more about the relationship between Krennic and Tarkin?
So that really is fascinating. So the same author, James Luceno, of this book also composed the book Tarkin. Mm-hmm. So that is very Tarkin focused. It's a story about Tarkin and this escapade with him and Darth Vader. The story, which I'll be honest, isn't really that interesting, but there are a lot of
backstory to Tarkin. That's
so it takes place roughly, let's say, 5 years after Order 66, the close of the Clone Wars, and it's really fascinating to find out the aftermath of the Clone Wars, as well as what Tarkin did during the Clone Wars, and then of course his sort of origin story, his growing up even pre-Clone Wars, and we really get the sense of he wants law and order. That's his modus operandi. That's Tarkin.
And he wants to be lord of everyone, like rule over everyone too, right?
Yeah, he kind of wants to be
he wants to be in charge.
Yeah, he wants to be in charge, but make sure that there's law and order. It also was interesting, by the way, in that Tarkin book, where Tarkin came from. He's just sort of came from this far off world, and the Coruscanti, fellow officers sort of looked down upon him, and he really had to make his way up. Like, he really had to fight for it. So here in this book, Tarkin really, a lot of his backstory isn't given because, the same author wrote the Tarkin book. Here, it's really fascinating to get this, we see Tarkin, he sees Krennic, and he wonders why Krennic is being so decorated. Why is he getting these different,
accolades.
Ranks? Yeah, the accolades. Mm-hmm. And he realizes it's because of Galen, right? And his construction on the Death Star. And then we see this slow bubbling of a competition, but it really comes to a head when there's a smuggler named Hazobit who is kind of basically like a useful idiot for Krennic, who just smuggles different things, and it plays an important role in the book. But eventually, Hazobit gets Krennic entangled gets Tarkin entangled in a sort of a mini rebellion that he had no idea, and then Tarkin actually has to talk to Masameda and says, "Hey, can you send reinforcements?" And Masameda says, "You can't handle this on your own." Challenges him. No. I'm gonna handle this insurrection with or without you, but we need whatever. So he takes care of things, and because of that, not only life threatening, but also Tarkin's own position in the Empire being threatened. That's really when we see that bubbling to a head ultimately in Rogue One, when we have Tarkin just taking over the Death Star, right? He's just kind of frustrated with Krennic, who is not a military man, right? He's an engineer. And so he's kind of frustrated that why should this engineer have control over this essentially mobile battle station? He's just an engineer. I fought in the Clone Wars. I was an admiral or whatever it was. I was a general. I've had so much experience. Right. I've had so much experience. It shouldn't be this engineer.
So, how far back into the construction of the Death Star does Krennic go? How because this is his baby. This is his thing. If he could put his arms around it and just keep it tight against his bosom, he would.
By the way, when we see the end, when Tarkin, kills Krennic, essentially, we see why he has no issues with that, right? Krennic put Tarkin in a dangerous situation. Now he's happy to have him off. So there's that. Really, Krennic is intimately involved. He not only procures the materials, albeit, for the Imperials, it's legal, but it's morally dubious how he procures the materials. And then he also is able to basically spring Poggle the Lesser, who we saw in Attack of the Clones. He's able to get him back to Geonosis and say, hey, can you basically use your Geonosians to work on the construction of the Death Star? So he's got basically free labor.
This is Krennic.
Krennic, right. He's basically got free labor, free materials. And that's how it's a huge thing. It would be otherwise massive costs. So if you're able to get the labor for free, if you're able to get the materials for pretty much free, if you just go to different worlds and just grab stuff, that's how you can construct a moon, essentially. Worlds. Yeah, a big battle station.
Yeah, so he was with it pretty much, what would you say, from the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning. I mean, he really wanted to take the sort of the ball, pardon the pun, the ball and run with it in the Clone Wars. And he was the one who said, and he knew the man for the job. It was Galen.
Yeah.
So he's like, I know I can do it.
So he came into the picture way before Tarkin.
Yeah. I mean, Tarkin's involvement really we see in Rogue One. That's how he took it over. He just took it over from his I want to say colleague, but really his competitor, Krennic.
Yeah.
So really, we should be calling the Death Star the Karmic Star.
Well played, yeah.
Why?
Because
Karma?
Because Krennic,
I get
he manipulated Galen
to create it, and then ends up dying by it.
And it's also interesting about, if the construction begins during the Clone Wars, how come it takes all the way to essentially A New Hope, now Rogue One, to get it operational? How come it takes so long? We see in the book that the Geonosians essentially not only fight amongst themselves to do work, they even kill themselves.
Yeah.
They're so fierce that there's such fierce competition that they're willing to kill other Geonosians just so they can do work on the project. So that slows things down. And then it gets even worse because at some point they even sabotage the project. So, and then that can explain why when they do the second Death Star, it doesn't take as long because you don't have people competing and killing each other and sabotaging the efforts.
Well, and plus, Lucas had said that they were building multiple Death Stars at the same time.
When did he say this?
He said this in... I wish I could cite my source, but I can't. But that's why the second Death Star went up in 3 years. Because it was already being built. Why just build one super station when you can have a whole fleet of them? Which is why in the old Ralph McQuarrie paintings, you do see an aerial shot of multiple Death Stars being constructed.
Oh, wow.
So this, I guess they just focused really the one on what we see in Rogue One and Star Wars. Or maybe they were learning as they went along. Oh, this is not working out. So that was the beta Death Star.
Interesting. Yeah, you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's no reason that, at least in the current canon, that they couldn't also have been working on that second Death Star even at the time of Rogue One.
Well, if the Separatists were also technically working on another Death Star, could they have started it maybe, and then the Emperor picks up where that left off?
Well, the Separatists were building one that we saw in Attack of the Clones, but at some point the Republic says, hey, we want to get in on this. Let's build our own super weapon before them. And so there were a couple of battle stations out there.
Well, then the major holdup for this particular Death Star was the fact that they didn't know what they were doing for the weapon itself. And that's what they needed Galen's help for. Yeah. Galen Erso's help for. So, and it blows my mind that they had it mostly built except for that laser, and they didn't know what was entailed to make that laser work. So it's how could they know the specs?
Yeah, it's really awkward. They had the yellow tape everywhere. Don't fall in this hole.
Yeah.
So then what did happen to the Republic's super weapon if they were building one as well?
Well, no, the Republic is the one that is.
Okay.
in
Then
Rogue One.
the Separatists. Then
That's what we don't know.
We don't know anything about it. I mean, all we know is really just what we saw at the Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That was it.
Unless that Separatist Death Star became the Death Star 2 we see in Return of the Jedi.
Which would be really cool if they somehow
That'd
make
be
that happen.
That'd be some phenomenal retconning.
Yeah.
And those are the key words when it comes to Star Wars in 2017.
Indeed.
Tradition.
All right. With that, let's wrap it up here by telling everyone where they can get a hold of you, Drew.
Awesome. So I have a website, starwarsmaven.info, and I'm Star Wars Maven on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. All right.
All right. Now we just need an outro line for you.
You know, by the way, every time you say never land on, I want to say Hosnian Prime.
Well, that could be your outro line.
There we go.
So, all right. Always remember, never land
on Hosnian Prime.
Get your own podcast for that.
Oh.
I knew you'd say that.
That's mean.
That wraps up episode 156 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to thank James Floyd, Margaret Mays,
and from the Discover the Desert Star Wars event, Kris Haugh, Carla Teeters, Michelle Puckett, and Brian Sims.
as well as Kevin Raider Nerd Reitzel and Jocasta Drew Kaplan, as well as all you Skywalkers for taking the time out of your schedules and listening to us. Thank you, and more thank yous. And when we see you at Celebration, big Wookiee hugs for everybody.
Lots of big Wookiee hugs.
And now we're still looking for some more Skywalker stories and Skywalker moments. So if you have something you want to share, please do. If it's a Skywalker story, send us in a synopsis of what you want to talk about. Something you can talk about within like 5 minutes. Something that really excites you. If it's a Skywalker moment, then go ahead and record it and send it over to us.
Yes, you can send that to our email, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Now, Skywalkers, we want to remind you that we have a podcast soundtrack. Rob Dellinger has released that album on iTunes and all digital platforms. It is called Skywalking Through Neverland Awesome Jingle Mix Volume 1. So buy it and help support Rob Dellinger, who, of course, supports our show.
Now, we are proud to be part of the Retro Zap family, where you can find some really interesting articles on Star Wars and pop culture, and where you can find the best Star Wars podcasts.
Oh, indeed, like Brews and Blasters,
The Sandcrawler Collecting Show,
The Deucecast Movie Show,
Beltway Banthas,
Techno Retro Dads,
and Talking Apes TV, where we just posted our latest episode, Mission of Mercy.
That's right.
Now you can also find us at jedinews.co.uk.
Yes, and if you want to talk with us during the week, we are on social media everywhere. Just search for us at Skywalking Pod for Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope. And we also have a Facebook group, which is amazing. It's where you Skywalkers can become friends with each other. Now, that is a closed group on Facebook. So, if you want to go there and request to join that group, you can do that. But then you also have to send us a message somewhere else on social media and let them know that you want to join the group, you listen to the show. We only let listeners in there. We don't let weird people in there. So, yeah, let us know. That's a 2-step process.
If you're good weird, that's good. If you're bad weird, out you go.
Exactly.
All right, and we'd love to hear from more of the Skywalkers in our iTunes reviews. So let us know what you think of the show, and we would love to hear from you, because we love when people reach out and tell us what they like, maybe what they don't like. Just always looking to make the show better.
Absolutely.
But if there's something you don't like, just email us, let us know, or Facebook us.
Yeah, that's a better way to do it, of course. Then that way we can work on it.
Yes.
All right, now stay tuned for bits of conversation and maybe some bloopers that didn't quite make it into this episode. And if you were watching on Periscope or Facebook, you know there were a lot.
Yes. Sarah gets loopy sometimes.
Well, whatever.
Sometimes she even gets...
Grumpy?
R-rated.
What are you talking about?
So remember to block the ears of the little ones, and always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
I hit record right now. Recording.
All right.
Oh, it's my turn.
And Q-Egg ready? Q-Egg go. What did you miss? A lot of arguing, Joey. A lot of arguing.
Yes.
All right, roll
Valentine's
back.
Day is over.
Oh, it was over before it started. How dare you?
That's bad.
All right, so, okay, why don't you do this part?
Okay.
Get your head back in the game.
Okay. Oh. Do you need to step outside?
No, we're recording. Come on. Let's go.
Stop that. Okay. Here we go. All right. I have something I would like to share.
Please.
And that is Walt's Barn. So, Margaret Carey. You know what? Let me start that over.
Please. In a Revenge of the Jedi supplement dated May the 2nd, 1982 from the Yuma Daily Sun. Let me start that again.
Okay.
Then he goes on to ask George Lucas about how expensive episodes 6 through 9 will be. All right, so grasp that one. He's asking him about 6 through 9 in 1982.
Okay.
Well,
so
George Lucas had always said that, oh, no, I never said there's going to be anything beyond 6 films.
Okay.
He said that adamantly. But there's so many times when we can quote him, like right now, like, George, you just said 6 through 9.
Okay. Interesting.
And I just wish that George had said, hey, you know what? I can change my mind.
Well, yeah. And obviously he has changed his mind.
Oh, he had. But originally, back in 1977, it was planned for 12 movies.
Okay.
And he pared it down to 9. But then, after the prequels, he said, no, I always said 6 movies. And everyone got on him about that. Said, no, George, you always said there was going to be 12 or 9. And George kept saying, no, I said 6. I just wish George had said, you know what? I did say 12. I did say 9. But you know what? I need a break.
And you know what it was? Joey Pittman says that George has been drinking too much blue milk. Nice one.
Now here is the supplement. I'm showing all the Scope walkers and the Facebook watchers. This is the supplement I'm holding in my hand right now.
It's unboxed, you guys. It's unboxed.
This never came in a box, though.
I know,
I didn't
I'm just
have
kidding.
to unbox it. It's the Revenge of the Jedi supplemental part of this Yuma Daily Post. The
And
Yuma.
show 'em the back, too.
Okay, hold on. Let me quote this paper correctly. From the Yuma Daily Sun. Okay, I want to make sure we give credit. See, oh, look, here's an ad in 1982 as Darth Vader selling cars.
Wow. It says May 2nd, 1982.
Yes.
Goodness.
So look at Sarah. This
Car
is
Wars.
almost as old as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the article I was just quoting from right here.
Whoa. Here, put it closer.
Okay, there you go. Showing all the Scope walkers and the Facebook watchers. Look at this.
Neat.
Look at this.
Wow.
Alrighty. So I did some research for this segment.
What did Martin say? So the last... Oh, he thinks that the Last Jedi panel is on Friday at Celebration. Oh.
Okay.
Good to know. That's actually better than Thursday for us. Okay.
So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And then we also had a chance to sit down with the organizers of the event and just know how they made it a reality. See, that's why I can't do that without the Mitt.
The John Williams, the Academy Award winning, the Grammy Award. Who is the John Williams? Congratulations, Johnny. That doesn't roll. Now let's hear a Skywalking moment. And now let's hear a Skywalker moment from Kevin. And now we've been doing a lot of moving, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, as Rogue One begins to wind down its theatrical bleh. I can't say R's, you can't say W's. Oh my gosh.
That's horrible for us, Richard Woloski.
I know.
So I'll say the Richard, you say
Sarah
the Woloski part.
Woloski, okay. Okay. What? Richard.
I can't say R's, you can't say W's.
No, it's the opposite, but okay. All right, I'll go. Mark Marquis says he loves the behind-the-scenes view of us because, yeah, all the time. Thank you, Mark. A lot of work goes into editing.
Well,
okay.
Thank you, yes.
All right, Skywalkers. Well, we are proud to be a part of the RetroZap.com network, and you can find some great stories there as well as some great podcasts. So, that doesn't sound very good.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Articles. He likes to be called. Okay.